choice. This was always my sort of favorite area. Climbers today tend not to head up there. I don't know too many people who've gone up there. A lot of people sort of laugh at the name experts because the climbing's sub 12, sub 513. Not that there's probably not a lot of acreage up there for those types of routes, but for the modern sport climber, the grades aren't very impressive. But I bet you there won't be too many climbers who are going to get off the deck of here unless you're a strong trad leader at probably the 510 level, easy 510s. And that's just because it's really hard to bust through this bottom dolomite. It is a rotten band. So that's what you're going to look at here for expert's choice is how do you get through the brown dolomite? And there's really sort of two routes that you can do. One is Twice the Fun up here by Mark Zeeberger and Linda Bartosik. That busts through right underneath here for Straight Jackets or Yellow Jacket Swing, Blair's old route up here. You might be able to do Triangle Panic down here, Scott Harm's Dave Fuller route. But really, probably the best choice is just number 4, and that's going to be a long decision or local decision. Now it's uncertain where the original split cleavage route went. Obviously it did the top, but the bottom, it's anyone's guess where that route actually went. I sort of hazard a guess that it was right here underneath the roof because that seems to be the obvious weakness. It's just that the rock in here is totally crappy, so this section just don't even bother with. Okay, here it gets a little bit better through here, and then there's one good section of rock right down here, and then it gets worse over here to the left. So let me take you through the routes. Once you get past this lower section, you're going to encounter the upper stuff here, and these are a lot of the bolted routes is right in here, aside from Crispy, which is half gear and half bolts down here at the bottom. Let's just show you some pictures so you can see sort of what that area is like. Main climbs. So Triangle Panic, there's that guy, that Harms route up to Yellow Jacket Swing. And then Twice the Fun should be right underneath here. And again, what you're looking at is you're hoping you can get a nice quality route for down at the bottom. You just really can't. So like here I've cut so many ropes wrapping down here and climbing up here. It's not funny. Double ropes are always nice for that stuff, that explosion. So here's the local decision. So you can see the start of this stuff. You'll see Blair coming up there, and there you go. Let's make this a bit bigger. So local decision heads up sort of this broken little pillar here, goes right, stuffs some gear in there, and then you've got this knife blade crack. Now you want to make sure there is a knife blade in here because if you get up here, you're going to be too far off the deck to do this without any pro. And I never wanted a bolt in here. It sort of ruins the whole climb. You've got this perfect crack. And if the knife blades go in the same place, maybe after a while there will be spots for a small little stopper to fit in here. And I think that would be great for keeping in character with the rest of the route. A little bit of a rotten section here and then the rock gets better. So actually I quite like that route. Let's see if there's any more. They're heading up the bottom section, getting that crux move there. You can see the pro that you got. And then the top views, it's just spectacular. Like how could you not love a route that looks like that and has so much exposure coming down. Okay, from the old first ascents down there. Now, the thin call is right here. This is a head point. So be wary of that one. There's a micro nut right in here, and it will protect you maybe probably like 2 or 3 feet from your chest. So it'll take an easy fall onto it, which is where you would slip because it's right at the crux, but it won't take like a full body fall. And so you want to be comfortable here. So I'd say top rope that baby until you're used to sort of what the climbing is like, and you're not going to lose your head with the gear. And then it connects back up here at that sort of Choss junction and then goes right up right there. These climbs here are a little bit too heady and sort of loose and insecure. The pro's not good enough for me. They're classic Blair Piggott routes. Number 7, split downs, is right here. So these are ones you'd try on top rope from the split pillar anchors up here. Where you want to go is you want to go right here to Crispy. This is great. And then what's next to that? Folk Story is this fully bolted route, just spectacular. After you've done Crispy and then Folk Story, then you can do this number 9, Sacred Spaces. You'll obviously do Split Cleavage, which is the classic route and a must-do for the park up here. You really haven't climbed in the park if you haven't climbed Split Cleavage. And then these two are the 511s. They're bolted routes, and they're pretty stout. Who knows if they're not a little bit harder. This guy I could see being harder than the 11A or B by a little bit, but this guy's probably right on 11A. And then Yellow Jacket Swing, which is a beautiful Blair Piggott route with a perfect crack up there. And let's take a look at Split Cleavage, so you can sort of see what that guy is like. So here's old Grant Zobel doing the roof Split Cleavage. So the belay, you just have to, there's now an anchor here. You used to just sling this big loose block, massive loose block, and then hope you don't fall factor 2 onto it. There's the groove that starts up Split Cleavage, and there's decent pro inside of here. It's not like plug anywhere you want, but the pros abounds decently. I liked hexes for it. The guidebook should have more information. And then there's Blair. You can see the nice belay that's just right underneath the roof, just before we had the bolts in there. So classic stuff, beautiful terrain that you see up there, and how could you not love to spend a fall day going up through there? And then there's the ledge below, the Raspberry Ledge or whatever it's called. Let's take a look. Folk Story, just so you can see that. Here's the Crispy Crack, and you go up the bolts here, or you can head up right here and then get into Folk Story, and then there's Sacred Spaces going down over here up those roofs. Let's see if there is any climbs, pictures for these pommel horse. You'll probably see some old pictures from the old first ascents when we were working it out, heading up that terrain right there. And I remember that one as always being a little bit, you doing all these weird funky laybacks, so it's a pretty funky climb. There's the crux right in there as you're doing these weird laybacks this way, then that way to get up through here. And then this is that one next to it, which is 13. Tip of the Tooth, yeah, that's a really nice one. So if you're looking for the harder climbs, climb Tip of the Tooth first, see if you like it, and then drop a rope down on this guy. I think the bolt here may have had a freeze-thaw cycle, the first bolt that fractured it, and it might not be good, so bring a knife blade or a bolt kit to pop that baby out and put a decent one in there. And that does it for the main area of Expert's Choice. The split pillar, 3 bolts to get to the pillar, and then up here. The climbing's not as good as we had always imagined. This terrain up here is going to be spectacular for whoever is brave enough to do these massive overhanging roofs with great incuts. So there's no question the climbing will go here. It's just going to be stout, and you're going to have massive exposure. So that's going to be world-class climbing up there. Just going to take lots of cleaning. Now, the other area, so here's the parking lot, head up the gully. With the forest fire, you shouldn't have trouble finding a way through here and hit the main trail. There's the big bouldering rock that needs some roots put up and becomes more famous. Just spectacular. Probably 15-foot cube with perfectly flat landings that nobody really goes and does. But down here is the lower left climbs, and there's 3 climbs there. 2 gear climbs and then a bolted climb, and then just working the roof for terrain. I think there's a new bolted climb up here, which comes from probably Rory McFarlane or Jonas Hook or some of those climbers who were at that time the park wardens. So don't know anything about that guy, just heard about it. This is the bolted one that you get that gets to an anchors. These 2 guys, names just come from making fun of intestinal movements and all the sharp little pricks from the rock. That's basically the Expert's Choice area. If you want a bolted route, you can try this guy and then try your hands on these gear routes. There aren't bolts up here, and there certainly could be if you wanted. The rock climbing there is not spectacular. They're fun, decent routes, better than protection than some of them, but not a destination spot for sure. If this area in here goes and there's more bolted routes that can get put up, probably be a quite nice destination because this area is quite nice and how you get through there. The only thing with the expert's choice about the history is to the left of the waterfall, there's supposed to be a bunch of 5 and 9s up here, and these used to be the classic ones from Yvon Chouinard and yours, Kristen Jansen. And they used to be the rite of passage. I quizzed Peter Frum a fair bit to see, are you sure it's really left and not right? Because I just can't figure out where a route would go to the left here. But he was certain it was to the left of the waterfall, which was the test piece of the 70s. So there must be something here, but you never know. Maybe someone got left and right mixed up, but he had climbed the route, so I don't think that that's the case. So one of these years, someone may discover a classic route with old Yvon Chouinard pins in it, maybe the old ones he used to make by hand. And that is the expert's choice climbing area.